Hello, and welcome to this week's audio blog where we are talking about boosting trust in yourself. That is increasing self trust. It is one of those topics that many people never even think about it to say, how do I build trust in myself? Or even to ask the question, do I trust myself? So, what gets in the way of self trust? What is self trust and how can you boost self trust? That is what we're going to be focusing on in this blog this week. My name, once again, is Dr. Stem. If you want to know more about the services that I provide, please visit my website at www.drstemmie.com. That is DRSTEMMIE.com. If this is your first time coming and visiting on this channel right here on YouTube, please subscribe and like and then share with others so that you can get more of the audio and video blogs that I do every week. Let's get into it. Why should we be aware of the inability to self-trust? Why is it so important? Over time, the habit or practice of self-abandonment, which results in our lack of self-trust, right, actually overflows into our ability to trust other people. So it's important to understand and to also build on to how we can trust ourselves. That way we can be open to trusting other people. So if you're one of those people that frequently struggle to believe that other people actually care about you, or you're not sure if others have your best interests at heart sometimes, recognize that this can all be a function of what we call projection, and that you might be the one who is not caring about you. You might also be the one who is having a difficult time having your own best interests at heart. Once you recognize this and begin to be kind to yourself, you will notice that it will be much easier to trust the kindness of others. In terms of the root issues of what gets in the way of self-trust, I would say there are two major culprits. And hear me out. Our truth that was made wrong by family, by friends, the culture, society, or peer group around us affects the way that we trust ourselves. The second thing is we are also simply in the habit of going against our hearts, and what, we are feeling, because our truth is somehow viewed as inconvenient many a time. We would rather trust somebody else outside of us rather than trusting our own selves. So in either case, self-trust is reclaimed by rekindling, where you connect back with yourself, you connect back with trusting yourself. That is one way that we're going to be talking more about. But I want to talk about the specific practices that you can do in order to enhance or to rebuild self-trust. As with anything that has to do with life, rebuilding relationships, whether it's a relationship with ourselves or a relationship with others, it should be done as slowly and as calculated as possible. You can't rush into, okay, I need to love myself and expect it to happen right away. You've got to pace yourself and also be gentle with yourself as you work through loving yourself. So that's probably step number one, where I want to encourage you to be open, to not be overly judging, of yourself, to not be too harsh with yourself, but to be more compassionate with yourself as you begin to take the steps towards increasing or boosting trust in yourself. So, number one, spend time with yourself. Just like any relationship would struggle to thrive if people in it didn't have quality time together, so too do you struggle when you don't spend quality time with yourself. Let's say your schedule is tight and you've got all these things that you have to do. then what you need to do is make yourself a priority and schedule me time in your schedule. Do you go to bed with a racing mind, with all these thoughts that you're thinking about? Do you go to bed, and not having resolved any arguments or any, conflict? All those things are things that you have to pay attention to as part of self-love, to not allow yourself to be in that state. So spend time with yourself, make time for me time, and literally be by yourself and spend quality time with yourself. Number 2, be in dialogue with yourself. Truly, anything that has you to slowing down and observing your own mind is going to be beneficial. So as much as many people fight me on this one, it works and it's necessary. And I'm talking about journaling. Sit down, meditate, lie down on your bed, just breathe and write down what comes to mind. Meditation also requires you to not even write anything down, but just to have moments where you are literally paying attention to your breathing. You are literally paying attention to what is on your mind, what you're thinking about, so that you're not thinking about things that are hurting you, that are stressing you more, that you literally pay attention to what's going on in my mind. And I encourage people to do that. I do that, all day long, what's on my mind, because then sometimes you just have these thoughts that creep up on you, and all of a sudden, your vibration is changing and you're wondering, what's on my mind? What am I thinking about? What just happens? That really helps to put everything in perspective. Number 3, honor and give yourself space to really acknowledge your emotions and feelings. If you race through life with an overly packed schedule, you will never have the necessary time to digest what it is that you go through. Just like any cars, I'm always giving this analogy that we cannot drive a car and continue driving without ever putting it up for a diagnosis to make sure that it's working well, everything is working. We change the tires, we change the brakes, we change, the oil. Everything has its time that it wears out and it has to be changed. So do our bodies as well. We have to honor and give space to our emotions, especially with everything going on around us in life, career, business, parenting, relationship. There has to be a lot of emotions that we go through, and they have to be given time to process and really acknowledge what feelings, emotions, pain, anything that you have felt. It needs you to pay attention to that. So to start out with, to do this, right, put aside at least an hour or 2 just to be with yourself. And then see if there's any emotional, what we call emotional residue, that wants to be moved out of your mind, of your body, of your soul. So whether or not it makes sense, if there is something within you that is no longer working, that doesn't make sense at all, that doesn't deserve you thinking about it, validate it and let it go. Because it no longer serves the purpose of enhancing your life or making you live your best life. You've got to let it go. But you can only get to that point if you make time and give time to really thinking and processing your emotions. Make a physical list of the things that you like about yourself. Words of affirmation is one of the love languages for a really good reason. So, take out a piece of paper. Yes, it has to be something that you write on physically. So, I talk about journals all the time. Have a journal and just take out, your journal. If you're a person that journals, if not, just take out a piece of paper. Write out on your piece of paper 50 things that you like about yourself. 50. Number 1 through 50. 50 things that you like about yourself. You can write things like, your appearance, what you like about your appearance, what you're proud of, the things that you have, overcome, that you have done, anything that you can write and say, I like this about myself. It's challenging to believe that others like us for who we are if we don't first like ourselves for who we are. So grab the bull by the horns and give yourself the validation that you may at times be seeking from others. Fulfill that emptiness that you feel when others ignore you or don't show you or show you that they care. I want you to be able to write at least 50 things that you like about yourself. And then the next thing is be willing to take risks in your life. One of the most powerful ways that we can build more self-trust is by regularly challenging ourselves. That means taking risks. Regardless of whether or not we succeed in accomplishing, whatever risk that we are taking, sometimes it's important to understand that you grow when you take risks. So sometimes the winning is not just the winning of I've gotten enough money or I have clients or this is an achievement. Sometimes that achievement is just personal growth where you have personal and professional growth. Sometimes it's just that, I did it. I took a chance. I knocked on the door. I sent in my resume. I started that business. I spoke to that person and asked for a chance or an opportunity. I did it. I took an initiative. Maybe you're single. Hey, ask out that attractive person that you have a crush on. Ask them out. Initiate any difficult conversations with someone that you've been meaning to clear things out with. You be the one to reach out. If you're waiting for somebody that you were saying, you know what, they need to reach out to me because I'm not going to let this go, then the person that's struggling and suffering is you. You reach out. Have that conversation. Take responsibility of where you were wrong and give others the space to process the pain, the anger, the hurt in their own way and in their own time. The key is to work through your pain, your anger, your shame, your guilt, and be in a position to make decisions that allow you to move on with life. Go after the job that you want. Push yourself in your physical exercises or goals. Move forward in your life and claim what you want. That will automatically boost your self-belief, your self-love for yourself, and also self-forgiveness. Next thing is be sure that you set realistic goals for yourself. Set meaningful goals that will literally take you from one point to the next point where it betters your life. It increases your self-confidence. It increases, the things that you're doing in life. So set yourself some realistic goals that will just boost your self-confidence and your self-esteem just because you set something and you finished it. Push yourself, but also be kind to yourself. Next thing is reward yourself. Whether or not you're rewarding yourself, right? It's actually something that feeds into your mind to say, well, when you reward yourself, it feeds it and say, oh, okay, I can try more things because then I know there's a reward coming, right? I used to be so guilty of this. I would do and go and go and go and go and go and never took time to really reward myself and take time to really celebrate, all the goals that I had accomplished or all the next steps that I take. I used to be guilty, but now not really. Because guess what? I reward myself. And boy, do I reward myself. I travel. Let me say it again. I travel. I love to travel. Well, we travel because my husband won't even let me travel by myself. I used to enjoy it, but now it's like, nope, I'm going with you wherever. So we travel. So he gets to enjoy all that as well whilst he's celebrating his own accomplishments. We're also celebrating together our accomplishments together as a couple. So I love traveling, and that's my self-reward. The next thing is next thing practice regular self-care. just like you would likely struggle to feel, like deeply connected to an intimate partner who doesn't treat you well, right? It's also imperative that you take good care of yourself in your life. Self-care should not be stressful. It should be another thing that you have to commit to. Self-care is relief, it's also relaxation. So just saying that self-care is relief and self-care is relaxation is good enough for you to say, you know what, it's not supposed to be stressful. So do not make it something that, oh my Lord, I have to do this. I've got to make sure that I put time for self-care. Then it defeats that whole purpose, because it's supposed to be relief and relaxation. So take a moment to think about the last time that you took time out for self-care. What did you do? Did you make time to rest, to relax? Did you take time to, do something that you love with your friends, with family? What are those things that you did, and what worked for you? What works for you? Once you find those things, I want to encourage you, please do more of those things, okay? The next thing is acknowledge yourself by keeping a running list of your achievements. For some reason, we are a people that don't like to be prideful, and I get that. But what happens is, if we don't keep track of the things that we have done well, that we have accomplished or achieved in our life, right, we might continue to look at ourselves as if we have not done anything or have not done a lot, only because we are not acknowledging the fact that we actually have done a lot and are continuing to achieve and take more strides in our lives. I literally keep a running log of my daily win-wins, I call them, no matter how small they are. I just write what were my accomplishments today. And it doesn't matter whether it was just being able to go through, coaching 5-6 people or 3 people for the day, and there were long, sessions, or, I have accomplished, finally putting together the training that I've been putting together for a company, and actually pulled it through for their retreat, and we did this training and it went so well. I write that down. So I get so excited when I check off a goal or a task. That is so fulfilling, to me. So what happens is, when I write that list, I'm already foreseeing myself crossing it out and having done it. So yeah, that's my way that keeps me excited. And then, you know what? Because I know once I write it, there is no other way except to cross it out. So I'm determined and motivated to make sure that I do what I need to do to cross that goal out. So write your achievements and write those things that you have achieved, whether it's a daily basis, monthly basis, weekly basis. Go ahead and write those things down. Pat yourself on the back, and don't forget the last previous goal. Reward yourself. Work out your problems on your own at first. Some people are better off working things out on their own without telling Tom, Dick, Harry, and everybody else. Maybe you've forgotten the strength that is within you. So if you have a sense that you're too quick to go to others for help, and that you will be served by sitting with yourself for a moment longer, then at this point, take that time to yourself and literally go through what it is that you need to go through and figure out some answers for yourself. Because many a time we tell people, and then they deter us from coming up with the right answers, and yet we knew what it is that we wanted anyway. On the other hand, you might be a person that says, you know what, I've tried it all and it's not working, working out my problems by myself. Then yes, work out your problems by asking for help. Many a time, friends, family, they are looking at you. They can see that you need help, but many are afraid to even start to ask you if you need help, or they're just respecting your space. Accept their love, accept the support of all those that are around you, because remember, the people that you love you back, and they're probably very, very hungry to find a way to support you. So let them support you. Stand up for yourself. If you're wronged, I know people struggle with self-trust, right? And many of the time, those people also struggle with self-abandonment. And one of the things that they do is not stand up for themselves when people do them wrong. They have a hard time doing that. So you do not want to be the one that let yourself down. Always put yourself number one. There's that, young self within you that is waiting for you to fight for them, that is waiting for you to say something, to somebody about how they are, doing something wrong to you. So it's okay to speak up. And it's how you say it that matters many a time. But sometimes just speaking up alone is what you need, rather than how that other person will respond or react to you. That might not matter, because if they don't understand you and they don't even acknowledge that they are wrong or they have wronged you, there's nothing that you can do. But you can be proud and happy that you stood up for yourself and you didn't let people just treat you any which way. So treat yourself well first, and then others will follow suit. Next thing is respect your own opinion as much as you would respect other people's opinions. This is interesting, because in self-trust, especially if you have been on the wrong and you've done something that people said you were wrong and you admitted to being wrong, it's easy to get into that place of not trusting yourself. So then you look out to other people to, tell you what to do, direct you in your feelings, in what you do in life, or whether you're right or wrong. It's very easy to give up, that power. So the single greatest tool that I can give you is to know where, when you're listening to others or when you're listening to yourself, is to know when to follow your own gut instinct or to follow what others are doing or are saying to you. So say you're trying to make a decision and you could go 1 or 2 days, right? Hold on and figure out what comes from your own heart, rather than just get the answer from somebody else and go with that just because you're not trusting your own self or not patient enough to wait. Because people have opinions, but many a time those opinions are not always in your best interest. So it's important to take that time. Gather evidence of the times that your decisions went well for you, because that will also enhance your self-trust. It will enhance you knowing that, yes, you've got the answers, and yes, you know what's good for you. And sometimes, of course, you might make the wrong decisions. Learn from that, but do not belittle yourself or put yourself down just because of one mistake that you have done. Talking about belittling, avoid people who shame you or belittle you or your truth, right? Many people, right, they have a sense of who you are or you were before you are who you are today. I had friends that knew me when I was in my early years and struggling in everything in life, from work to relationships to everything. I struggled. I went through a lot. But then they could not see me as the person that I am today, because they continue to see me as that stem that was the old stem. And you continuously hear all these stories that keep coming up. But I'm not about them stories anymore. I'm a different person. I've grown out of all those challenges and difficulties. So it took me 57 years to really build the courage to separate myself and realize that, you know what, enough is enough. I don't need to be around people who tolerate me. I need to be around those who celebrate me. Look around. Do people tolerate you or do they celebrate you? You need to celebrate you first, and the rest of the people will celebrate you as well. I had to celebrate me first, and then realize that when I did, others who were around me or who came around me began to celebrate me and understand that the old me is no longer me. There is a new me in me, and I would rather be embraced for the new me that I am. And then last but not least, I talked about 16 of them, can you tell? Okay, build a self-trust and support yourself with compassion. As I said in the beginning, go easy with yourself and be compassionate about this process. It doesn't take, or change overnight. It might take some time. And it just varies from person to person. But here's the key, right? Self-trust will allow you to trust other people. When you can trust yourself and take the chance to trust another person, it is to your benefit, because then they are free to be themselves. They respect you, they respect themselves, you respect you, and you respect yourself, right? But then there's always a thin line, there's always boundaries that need to be set. And what I do is I help people take a really good look at their life and what's going on. And then together we can process and see what boundaries need to be made. Because sometimes your effort of building self-trust might not be for you. It might be for other people to be able to trust you. And when they don't trust you, then you get to resort back into not trusting you. So the cycle continues. So if you're a woman who's ready to become unstoppable in all areas of your life, let's talk. I have a coaching program that is titled The Unstoppable Renew You, Love Your Life Coaching Program that I would love to extend to you so that we can work together one-on-one, or you can join our group coaching that we do. Email me at drstem14@gmail.com. That is DRSTEM14@gmail.com, or visit my website at www.drstemmie.com. DRSTEMMIE.com. Until then, as I always say, be encouraged.